All right. I'd like to thank you all for attendance at the Meridian, Idaho Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. Time is 5:32 p.m. Can we have roll call?
Yes, Keith Bevan,
Present?
Jennifer Bobo,
Present.
Dom Gelsomino,
Present.
Joe Greer,
Present.
Ellie Hood,
Present.
Mandy Roberts,
Present.
Mike Medlin,
Present.
John Nesmith is absent, Brandon Simpson,
Present.
And I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda for tonight.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Gelsomino,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, please.
have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Roberts, all in favor?
Aye.
Agenda has been adopted. Can I have a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes from the February 8th regular meeting of the commission?
Mr. President,
Yes, Commissioner Gelsomino.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 8th, 2023 regular meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes from last meeting have been approved. Thank you. First item on our agenda is upcoming events with Shelley Houston.
Yes.
Oh, hey, I think we got, this one works. Okay, thank you, Rachel. Hello, commissioners. I'm kind of pulling a fast one on you tonight because we're kind of at that little awkward time of the year where we're at the end of winter and we don't really have many events sprouting up until we'll have Unplug and Be Outside, which starts in mid-May. So I'm going to kind of switch it around and just give you a couple other announcements that might be of note. I think you might like to know that at the end of January, we were once again able to take a big chartered bus up to the McCall Winter Carnival for guests age 50 and up. And we had 52 seniors that went with us and a waiting list as long as your arm. And they played bingo along the way and they enjoyed lunch and shopping and sightseeing and nobody got hurt, but someone did drop their cell phone down the loo in the bus. It was later recovered and thankfully we know that no more details, but we don't know how it ended, but interesting. Right now we're entering our most active job recruiting period as we seek applicants for a variety of our seasonal and part-time and summer positions that will last throughout the warm weather months. We've kind of got a couple different initiatives going. I gave you each a couple flyers. One is for golfing related positions out at Lakeview. And so the Idaho Golf Show is taking place tomorrow through Sunday at Expo Idaho. Us oldies call it the Western Idaho Fairgrounds Expo buildings. So our Lakeview crew will be out with a booth schmoozing golfers. And so they'll be looking for folks that might be interested in some seasonal work out of the golf course. And then we're doing something very similar with high school students because we're looking for young people to work positions like lifeguards, camp counselors, some seasonal groundkeeping, sports scorekeepers, golf cart attendants. Those could be kids 15, 16, 17, 18. So there's a big school district career fair at Rocky Mountain High School next week. So we'll have a presence there and be doing lots of recruiting as well. So if you know of anyone looking for work that might be interested in any of these potential avenues, we encourage you to pass the information on and have them visit meridiancity.org/jobs, where they can find all the particulars and instructions for applying. Speaking of applying online, the city of Meridian has a new city website. I don't know if you've noticed, we kind of brought it in kind of a hush quiet opening while we worked some kinks out, but it's totally up on its feet and looking quite nice. It's a much more attractive, user-friendly interface. And then from our perspective, it has a more user-friendly back end where those of us who are content administrators can log in and make changes without having to put in a case request with the IT department. So that's meridiancity.org. You'll notice lots of pretty pictures and just an easier on the eye type look for the public. Like I say, Unplug and Be Outside will start May 13th with a big kickoff in Kleiner Park. And then throughout the week, there'll be all sorts of free activities that we'll be announcing soon. And we're also doing something a little different this summer to attract, a broader audience on Friday nights in particular. We're going to be alternating our Settlers Park movie nights with some Friday night free concerts in the Kleiner Park band shell. So in all, there will be six movie nights rather than 11 or 12. And then 6 of these new concerts, which will be called Kleiner Park Live. Now that we've got our shade structure and those trees are maturing, we feel like that amphitheater area is going to be a lot more comfortable for people that want to come enjoy music. So it's time to start up our Kleiner Park Live again. We've got sponsors on board and the city council's approval. So we're going to give it a whirl and see what happens. Should be some really good cover bands out there. So hopefully we'll get the little toddler crowd and their families, and then some older folks are looking for some music or dancing on a Friday night. So that's going to be neat. And last but not least, I've remembered several of us this week have been taking our CPR certification. I don't know if you recall this, but it's our goal to have 100% participation where we're all certified in CPR and AED for adults and infants and youth. And so we've been going through that, and that's part of the Meridian, Heart Safe Meridian initiative. And so we're proud of that. That's it for now. And like I say, as we get a little deeper into the season and things start to warm up, then we'll get crack-a-lacking with more special events. Any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, have a great meeting.
Shelley. Okay, so first item of new business on the agenda is the Recreation Department Adult Sports Update with Maggie Combs and Skylar Cook. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us, guys, this evening. We got a quick presentation to show you guys. If you have questions going through, just stop us and ask us then. You don't have to wait till the end. But yeah. Is it Rachel? There we go. Okay. So kind of recapping our last year, 2020, a year in review, we had, let's start with our volleyball leagues. We were able to host our winter volleyball leagues. We had 130 teams this last year. So we were able to bounce up a couple more teams. Just for a quick insight of what this year has already looked like for 2023, we've already increased that yet again. So our volleyball leagues are definitely on the uptick in teams. Spring, we grew again by 22 teams. And summer, we were able to bring back a summer league this last year. We moved it indoors versus where it used to be an outdoor 4-on-4 non-officiated league. We brought it indoors to home court. So it's AC, weather controlled, no wind, and brought that back. So we're seeing an increase. We're working through, do we do a 4-on-4 or a 6v6 and see what the teams want going into this next summer. They're kind of saying, let's go to 6v6, we'll self-officiate. So growing that and everything as well. Our fall league also did increase. So we were seeing this uptick in volleyball. Our volleyball leagues are they're becoming super popular, co-ed and women's. We hosted our volleyball classic tournament, and it's a Saturday only tournament over at home court. We have 36 teams. They raise money for the Head Start program down the street to buy them Christmas gifts throughout that. We also hosted the cornhole tournament.
Yes, test. So my name is Skylar. I also work with Maggie, kind of serving as an assist to her when it comes to sports, as my duties have changed in the last year and a half. So we brought back our cornhole tournament as well for the Holiday Classic, just to give folks something a little bit different than volleyball, but still able to participate. So we had 30 people attend this year, our second year running the cornhole portion of it.
So our softball leagues, we host 2 different seasons. We host a spring summer, which had 105, and our summer fall, which dropped down to 83. We did see a little bit of a decline in that spring, or from the summer to fall, due to that was when the big time of teams looking at gas prices increased. And so talking with the teams, they're like, we've got to make choices. My kids or me, and kids out won. We hosted our youth fast pitch summer softball tournament over Memorial Day weekend, continuing to have about 40 teams. This is interesting. It's all out of order. I'm going to just sit through all of this. The number of teams that come in, we had 36 just from Idaho in different cities. We hosted 3 teams from Oregon, 1 from Washington, and 1 from Utah. So we are getting some teams that come travel in from out of state. And when we're Oregon, we're not talking bordering states. We're talking the metro area over there, the Portland area. So they're traveling this distance. Same with Washington. They're traveling for the Vancouver. I think it was Ogden, Utah, if I'm not mistaken. So they're traveling to get here to come to these events. We hope to continue to grow that and get some out of town teams, get some heads in beds, and see that as well. Our flag football league has continued to grow over the last couple of years. We did see a little bit of increase. Again, we unfortunately did not have a co-ed league again. We just can't get the numbers. We'll continue to offer it as an option, but unfortunately, we're not able to host it. Basketball, we saw a huge uptick in basketball this last year, increasing that from the last time we hosted it, because we did not host it the year before due to COVID, but we are seeing a big growth again, and we brought back the 3v3 again with that in the summer.
Continue on with cornhole. As kind of part of our goals was to create cornhole as an offering year round. So we do offer spring, summer, fall, and winter now as well. The spring, summer, fall boards seasons are out at Settlers Park. We were able to get 5 new permanently installed boards out there within the last year, as it was on a grant, if I'm not mistaken. So that's been really, really popular with our citizens, and we continue to see a growth in our cornhole out in the parks as well. Some numbers here: Dairy Days tournament over Dairy Days weekend in June. That one had 17 teams. And then disc golf as well. We've made a push for a disc golf tournament. We have done a Halloween tournament the last 2 years out at Kleiner Park. This year we had 15 players in the adult and 6 in the youth. So it's really a family-friendly type event, trying to get more youth and increase, just disc golf around the community.
So looking at program statistics, this is the total number of teams. We've really seen a big increase, even from 2019, which was really our last year of numbers prior to COVID and the struggles we went through with that. But you can see we've gone up and they're growing. That would be the increase of cornhole, bringing back the 3v3 basketball, and the summer volleyball that has helped increase those numbers as well. Those are the 3 newer returning programs that have helped, and just the growth in mainly the volleyball league as well. So then you can look at the number of participants. You've seen the increase, just not on the team side, but the number of people that participate in the programs. So we're over 6,000 people that are participating throughout all these programs. So we had a huge sponsor list that came out this year with the volleyball and the cornhole tournaments. We really have to thank our community for stepping up and doing this. What we used these sponsors was a raffle. The teams and the players and participants that came in, they could buy raffle tickets throughout the day and throw them in a basket and try to win these. They're great prizes right before Christmas time. Heard a lot of them say, oh, I'm going to use this as something to give away to my family members or put away for my kids. So we really have a great community that has stepped up. I mean, Texas Roadhouse, they give away these gift cards. So every team that wins the tournament The first place teams get a dinner, and they can go over there. It's like $15 off their dinner, and they can go and have dinner as a team and everything. So each player on that team gets a certificate. And so it's a huge thing because we host 6 teams plus cornhole. So she gives us a ton, plus she gives us extras to give to the officials as well as a thank you. Because a lot of them volunteer their time and donate it back to help buy more Christmas gifts. So this is a huge list that we have this year of people that reached out. We reached out to them and they said, yes, we want to be part of this. We want to help support this cause. So huge thanks to them. I mean, Lake Route Golf Course, we were able to help that and help promote our own events and stuff too as well. So we do have some challenges that we're seeing continuing from 2022 to 2023. Our gym space, we're growing so big that for a while we weren't having to play on Friday nights, especially for volleyball. We're having to consistently play every Friday night, which people are like, if they want to play, they're going to play on Fridays. It's kind of where we're at. Field space with lights, because we're growing not just for our leagues, but outside requests. So having more space. So when those new fields out of Discovery have lights, that's going to be a huge thing for us, being able to help put more people out later at night on the fields. Officials which is a nationwide issue, but officials, which does reduce the number of games and things we can offer. And it's a constant trying to figure out where are we getting more people to help officiate. So we're working through that with the official associations we work with. Gym space, we're working through that too. But as we continue to grow, those are the challenges we see. And also just being able to staff all of it with, you can only set up so many gyms a night, so you can only offer so much and everything. So those are some of the struggles we work through, but we have a great team that works through this, and to be able to offer the sports we do offer and be able to offer what we can, we continue to look forward to growth with all of our teams. So some fun things, the Holiday Classic, we raised over $4,000, $4,517 to be exact. That was 300 plus Christmas gifts that we were able to buy for 37 children at Head Start this year. Every kid was able to make sure that they had a blanket, toothpaste, a book, socks, underwear, clothes, toys. Every kid had that under their tree or however their parents wanted to do it for Christmas. So being able to do that and give that to these kids, that is also great support that we love. And our volunteers help go shopping and wrap the presents and everything as well. So a couple of things, just so interesting facts. We have over 30,000 runs that were scored during softball this year. We played 114 days of softball. That averages to 270 runs per night on average. So the bases get used a lot. And that's just what our league does, not all the rentals or the drop-ins and everything. We ran 4 seasons of volleyball this year, and on average, we had 501 points scored per night over 160 nights of volleyball just this year alone. So big numbers over what we can do. So just kind of some fun things. Any questions for us?
Mr. President, I have a question. I just wanted to ask, given the challenges that you guys raised, are there some potential ideas about how we might be able to increase gym space or lighted field space? Yeah.
So gym space, we will work with the school district and working on expanding that, but until we can only set up so many gyms and we only have so many officials that can officiate. So we're kind of hitting that max right now. So you have to solve one before we can get to the other. So yes, we are continuing to look and explore those. But yeah, so our current league right now is going, we have a waiting list of 20 teams that put their names on the waiting list plus others. So again, good problem to have. I feel that we have got a lot of teams that want to participate in our programs. So yes, we are exploring ideas.
Just to add on to that a little bit, I do oversee our field reservations, and we've gotten a little creative with how we can not only serve our adults in the community, but also our youth teams, our youth sports leagues. Obviously Discovery Park Phase 2 is going to open up 3 new fields for us. We're going to hopefully push a lot of our youth teams out that way. And then we've also opened up Tully Park and Bear Creek Park in the months of March before our adults kick off, has kind of helped give some of our youth teams as well And one of our fields, Bear Creek Field 2, we're dedicating to youth as well throughout the season. So hopefully to help out these youth teams a little bit more while we do struggle to find, field space for them.
Mr. President. So are there any plans to expand what you're?
What are you looking for?
Well, so I saw in the program guide, there's a kids pickleball camp. And I know the Meridian has
A
largest
huge population of pickleball, yes.
and a large number of courts in comparison to surrounding areas. So hold some leagues and maybe even some tournaments.
Yeah, so kind of what we've seen is BAPA, Boise Area Pickleball Association, has kind of led the charge when it comes to leagues and different ladder leagues that they do. They do them indoors at home court during the winter months, and they also do them outdoors in the parks. We as a department haven't really gone down that path yet. We do talk about it often, but I think some of these other organizations are filling that need as is. And we do have, within the guide, we do offer adult and youth beginner level pickleball classes to try and introduce them. But I think we are open to it if we can find a way to make it work. Yes.
And not water down the product either. That would be the other thing, is if we took on it as the city, would we spread the numbers out and then water down a product that's already existing?
I just know that right now, BAPA doesn't offer very many leagues. And the ones that they do offer are run by members. They're kind of self-initiated, so it just seemed like there was an opportunity.
Definitely something open to explore.
Anything else? Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for the update. I mean, yeah, it looks like our numbers have come back from the COVID and higher than ever. And it's a lot of work. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the pool update with Garrett White.
Good evening, everybody. Well, thanks for having us. I'm going to give you kind of a big overview of the pool and how we operated it last year, being the first year that the city has taken over operations from the West Ada Recreation District. So this is year 2 going into it. I will be honest, we learned a lot in year 1. We ended up taking it over and starting the operations in mid-February and opened it the first week in June. So we only had a few months to get things ready to go. I'll kind of briefly touch on that stuff. I'll kind of briefly touch about some of the challenges we had and how we overcame them. But they put the ripple effect on these because of the pool water stuff, right? So you'll see the picture right there. That's Willow Spurlock. She made my job so easy last year. She was the West Ada Recreation District ward, their pool manager. So we ended up taking her on and making her our full-time employee with the city. So she knows the ins and outs and the schedule and operation portion of it. She is the one that trains the guards. She's certified in all that stuff. She's the trainer of a trainer type of thing. And she runs a tight ship when it comes to the training, and she takes it extremely serious. So I just want to at least show her picture there so you guys can see her walk around the pool and or walk around City Hall. You'll know who she is, and please say hello and introduce yourself. But getting into the presentation, you'll see some of the key dates here. The pool cover comes off. Right now, April 13th when it's scheduled. I put the 14th just in case they run a day late or weather related stuff. But when that pool cover comes off, the pool is green, almost black with everything that goes on in there. Just from the pool sitting empty, or not empty, but full of water all winter long. The process of dewinterization begins April 17th. And that is a process of scrubbing the walls, scrubbing the bottom, you name it, getting that water back to clear, cycling everything through. The first swim team tryout is May 6th. And lifeguard and swim instructor trainings led by Willow. It's about 2.5 to 3 weeks long in that process. And that starts the week of May 8th, so that we are ready to go rock and roll on June 5th is our opening day. With that, like Shelley had mentioned before, there's some positions open. We have an aquatics coordinator or assistant aquatics coordinator. That's kind of Willow's right arm during the season. I want Willow to want to work at the pool and not 60 hours every week or a lot. So that person, that position's, the expectation of that is when Willow's not there, that person's kind of leading the charge with over all the guards and any kind of concerns or complaints or incidents that happen. And then we have a head of maintenance. Myself, I'm a certified pool operator as well, but this position is also a CPO that goes and tests water every day, twice a day. On top of that, we have Superior Pools and a contract with them that does the same thing 4 days a week. So we constantly maintain water, chemical, and keep those records and stuff on that. So that's important that we do that. All the positions that we have open right now are posted on the city's website. Although we do, once we interview them and talk to them, we send them to Personnel Plus, and they are contracted through a temp agency as employees of the temp agency that we use at the pool. So that actually worked out extremely well last year in the quick turnaround that they have in the process of hiring them. So, and it is not a big burden on our HR department with, we want 65 plus guards to oversee that pool. And I'll get into a little about that in a second. But last year, again, we had 39 guards, 40 counting Willow. So hiring those 40 people right now is kind of difficult for them in HR because of the processes they have to go through. Going to the next one is our pool fees. You can see that our open swim is $2, $3, and $4. Season passes, family passes are $160, and then we will be taking the $40 individual pass this year to council for approval when we do the fee schedule here in March. Swim lessons, the last year's prices were $45 per kid per group lesson. Private lessons are $100 per child, and semi-private is 2 kids. That one actually worked out really well with my twins, semi-private. So it was awesome there. So we actually utilized, and the twins did go through this program at the Meridian pool. And honestly, as a parent, it was awesome. That was when Ward was running it. That was a few years back, but all 3 of my daughters have went through that, and it was awesome. It was great. Willow and her crew does a great job with that. I was able to witness a lot of that this year. I spent a lot of time down there during some lessons. And I go around and everybody looks at who's the guy in the khakis and a polo walking around like he, knows what he's doing, fooling them a little bit. But I just start talking to people, and I asked them, hey, what do you like about this? And they love the fact that all the guards are personable. One thing with little kids, they want consistency in their teacher, right? So they're consistent, and that goes into Willow scheduling guards to that, right? Because all the parents just love the way that they interact with kids, and they like the fact that they're professional at the same time. So it was really good. And that is a direct reflection on Willow, in my opinion, just because she's the one that trains them and organizes them and gets them going. So that's kudos to her. Some of the impacts we had last year in operations, we had some projects that, if you guys remember when I came last year in June, I kind of had a list of things that we found that needed some little TLC at the pool. There was a pretty long list that we were able to get some of it done prior. All the critical things were done prior to us opening the pool. But there was a lot of minor things that add up, right? That we were able to get done during the season. So some of those impacts of operations was contractor availability, right? I wanted to paint the pool rim. I wanted to paint some of the yellow. I think 5 different people told me, sorry, we're not bidding that. We can't, don't have the time, or they can't find the right paint, or those types of things. So it's just those types of things that we went through. But ultimately we got a lot of the things done. Pool capacity, or bather load is how they say it in the pool world or the aquatics world. When we first took it over from Ward, we were just going to say, let's keep everything as Ward did in 2021. Let's live it, learn it, and make adjustments or adapt as we go. So midway through the season, we did increase some of the capacity. And this year we look to understand the capacity more, and I'll kind of explain that here in a second, and increase that to what our calculations are. One thing that we did do is over 1,100 kids registered for swim lessons and got taught how to swim, right? We want them to come back. That was some of the lower level, but 1,100 kids, that's a lot. That's a lot of people in and out of that pool, right? So that was a good thing. One thing that Willow implemented this year that our pool, our marine pool, has never done is swim tests. What that is during public swim, you get little ones to come in. You see this at the Y and other locations too. They give you like a wristband, whether red, blue, or whatever, and those allow you or that kid to go into specific areas of the pool, right? So it's based on skill level and how well they float, really, right? So in doing that, in years past, they've always had over 60 saves. That's jump in saves a year, 60 plus, which you're only open about 55, 56 days, right? So that's one a day, which seems crazy. We went that down to 6 this year with the swim test, right? So that's a huge, huge undertaking in doing that. And that just makes it safer for everybody. Guards know that, hey, you have a red, why are you in the deep end type of thing? Send them down that way. Hey, you have a blue, you need to be over in the little guy pool, those types of things. And guards are looking for those things now. So that is right there. Kudos again to Willow with implementing that and making it work. Right. So we plan to continue that obviously for the next several years and just adapt it and make it better every year if we can. And I mentioned earlier, we hired 39 staff, 40 counting Willow. So this is kind of the facility schedule in a nutshell. Okay. I'm not going to touch on it a whole lot, but you can kind of see what the schedule is based on how many guards we have. That makes sense. The more guards we have, the more we can offer. Other than capacity kind of concerns I got last year, the number of other concern was, well, why don't we have evening swim? Why don't we have weekend swim? And I said, man, I would love to. Do you have anybody that can lifeguard? The more lifeguards we got, the more that we can actually be open, right, to the public. The pool is an asset to the community, but we need people to work it. So that you can kind of see as we get more people in the red, I highlighted the red numbers there, a number of guards, that's what we add in the green as we go. We would love to be open 7 days a week. Need 65 to 70 guards or more. And then I'll give Willow kudos again. We had 40 staff last year. I can tell you about 10 of them wanted to work as many hours you wanted. The other 20 only wanted to work 15 hours. Some only wanted to work 18. Some couldn't. Oh, I have 3-week vacation here. I got that. So her juggling those things is really a challenge. That reflects back to the swim lesson thing, consistent instructors, right? So there's a lot of things that go into logistics of scheduling those that Willow did a phenomenal job of doing. So again, kudos to her. Pool capacity. I'm not going to get into the numbers here, but I just want to let you guys kind of know that this is how you calculate pool capacity. It's based on everything from pool surface area, pool depth, diving wells. That's at, diving board, you dive into it. They call them diving wells. There's a specific area that you can't have people in to go off a high dive. It's bigger than a little low dive, slides, those types of things. But it's basically the splash zone where they come out or they're going to land off the diving board. So those are called diving wells. And then actually pool deck space as well. So all that stuff gets factored in. I kind of gave you some quick calculations there on what the Meridian pool, or the main pool or Meridian pool is, and then the kiddie pool right next to it. And then kind of how we divide stuff, what the occupancy levels are there. And my calculations, I would say that we could host, based on everything, pool depth, all the above, about 263 people in that pool. Now, once the cover comes off and I can get better calculations, those calculations are based off of the construction docs that I'm looking at. And I want to make sure those are completely accurate before I really make this a public, like 263s or capacity thing. And then I would also work with Central District Health on their stuff too, to say, hey, is this accurate? Am I doing this right? Just to get a second opinion on it as well. But those calculations are all done through the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. There's a big thing that you did. That was based in 2021 stuff. So still working on it, but I at least wanted to give you an idea. If somebody asks you about capacity stuff at the pool, you can say, call Garrett. He can tell you the math equations on how to do all that. So just want to make sure you guys know that that is what we're doing. Pool projects completed. During the season, I put a picture up here. These are the two chemical feeders that are in the chlorine room. You can see that when we first took it over. I wish I could zoom in a little bit more, but you can see they're pretty corroded there in the bottom left. And I don't have a picture of the wall at the bottom, but the wall is pretty corroded and kind of messed up. So those needed to be replaced probably 2 years prior to us getting it, but we got it and they're replaced and they're ready to go and done. So there's a lot of other things that were done. The UV systems, that was a big project that was done, baby pool and big pool. The ADA chairlift hadn't worked for a while. So I made that one of my goals, and that was one of my priority goals. And it got done right before the season opened. So that was awesome. But on that one, it would have been done way before, but again, it was getting parts for that. So we replaced the parts rather than just buy a brand new one. Brand new ones are $6,000 to $8,000. I got parts for $2,400. So just replaced the parts, and myself and our maintenance guy put it together and bolted together. It was good to go. Pool slide repairs, those are all done. One of the things I highlighted in red here is the pool animation system. That is an upgrade to what we had prior. And I can tell you that installing that this year saved us from being shut down 2 or 3 times, probably through the summer. And what that does is it emails me if we get pH is too high or pH is too low or chlorine's low, chlorine's high. It will email me immediately. It gives me an update regardless at midnight and at noon. But then in between there, I have a range. So if it drops below there, it lets me know. And also lets our contractor with Superior Pools know. They get an email on their phone. Hey, something's going on at the Meridian pool. What's happening? I would get an email. I got an email at one point. I'll say like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Chlorine levels are almost nothing. Well, public swim, we can't have that. So I ran down there and looked, and sure enough, our drum full of chlorine got empty. I just had to switch it over, and it was back up and ready to go within about 30 minutes, right? But we didn't have to shut down because there was still chlorine, just wasn't at the part we wanted to. If we would have let it go until the next day, we wouldn't have been able to open the next day until chemical levels are back up, which really gets swim team moms and dads and people at 5:30 a.m. What do you mean we can't use the pool? We're here. Gets them upset. And then it snowballs from there, because then our swim lessons get pushed back, public swimming gets pushed back, and so on, right? So that automation system costs us about $15,000, but it saves us so much in the long run. And it actually documents what our chemical levels are constantly. So that's a big improvement, in my opinion, out there. 2 projects that are going to get done, that are scheduled to get done. The diving board, the contractor wants to get out there next week, weather permitting, to start doing the work on and replacing the low dive there. And you can kind of see the platform it used to sit on. That was the old board there, and that's all going to be ripped out and redone. So I'm excited to see that in. That was one of the things I thought I was going to get a huge complaint last year from daily from kids and parents. Why isn't there maybe like a smaller diving board? Never got it brought up once. I mean, not once. So it's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So that worked out good. And I finally got one bid on the pool paint, and they're going to do that right when they take the cover off. They're wanting to do it as well. So that should happen late April, early May, the pool being painted, just the rim. So, yeah. With that, I will stand for questions. That's a home court photo, but not gonna point finger. No. So, but yeah, questions if you have them. Talk a little bit longer than I want.
I have a question. Mr. President, what was the wristband thing? Did you get a lot of pushback of like, no, I should have had a different color, or was it difficult to institute getting people to do the testing?
That's a great question. So yes, at first we did. Some of the parents like, I don't want this. This is ridiculous. And our thing is we want your kid to be safe. You know, well, my kid's always been able to go off the high dive and this and that. Well, we want your kid to be safe. And yes, we did get some flack on that. But again, kudos to Willow. She put together what does it mean when you get red? What do you get when you get yellow? What do you get when you get whatever, right? And she had specific things in there that they could work on to get to the next level, if that makes sense. So when a mom would talk to Willow, or they didn't like her answer, they would talk to me, I would tell them the same thing. Listen, this is about your kid's safety, right? Yes, they were able to do that, but we went from this to that. I'm sorry, but here's something that they can work on. You can work on this at home, or you here at the pool, work on this with that kid at the pool. And we want that kid to get better too, you know? And once you explain it and talk to the parents about it, honestly, every single one was like, I get it. I get it. You know, so there really wasn't an issue, but we did get a little bit of flack from it. But at the same time, by week 1, week 2, parents were like, no, this is fine. Totally get it.
I guess it motivates the kids to be a better swimmer.
It does. It does. And it kind of, gets them to to know what they need to do too, right? Yeah. No, that's a great question, but yeah, we did have a little bit of that.
What are the prospects on getting a higher number of lifeguards?
So we're looking at raising wages, to meet others that are in the Treasure Valley and what they're doing. We're still, trying to figure that out, but we know our neighbors. We're good friends with our neighbors. We're good friends with the Y, Nampa, Boise, Caldwell. We all know each other. So it's one of those like, hey, let's try to work together to get guards, not very many guards are want to drive all the way to Meridian to work when they can work right there at their pool. So we all want to be in the same range, for lack of better words there. So it's really just getting that word out. Like, this is a cool place to work. You get to work with kids, you're outside, we're paying you to get trained, to be here. The atmosphere is cool. The culture's great. Wages, we're hoping to get up to where, it is with, Fred Meyer's and the stores and other places and other swimming places around. Willow is going to job fairs. There's a job fair at the high school. I want to say Rocky on the 17th. Try to recruit some of those kids. And the reality of it is we want 65 plus, people to work at the pool, but Jenna, our class and campus coordinator, wants 20, 25 to work for her. And our parks wants, 50, 60 to work for them. So we need 100 plus people, right, to keep working for us. But we think the pool's cooler to no. But yeah, to try to get them, it's more of just getting that word out saying, hey, we'll train you, we'll hire you. It's not scary. We'll give you experience. We're here to help you become as successful too. Right. So it's just trying to get that word out to those kids that are nervous about wanting to become a lifeguard. And that's maybe scary to some. Well, it's not. It can be fun. So, anybody that's interested, we want 15 or older.
That's what I was just going to ask. What's the youngest?
We want 15 and older. Kind of what we like to have. Summer camp, I want to say Jenna wants 17 or older. Remember correctly. So, yeah.
Mr. President. So with all the various pools in the area, is there an opportunity to maybe share lifeguards?
That's a great question as well. So depends on what they're classified as guards. So there's the YMCA has a classification, American Red Cross has a classification, or Ellis classifications, right? So there's basically three different ones. So American Red Cross, Nampa, Caldwell, and Boise is that. Here in Meridian, we're Ellis. Roaring Springs is Ellis. And then the Y is their own, if that makes sense. So for an Ellis certified guard to go work in Nampa, they would have to get recerted before they worked in Nampa as an American Red Cross guard. That makes sense. They would be certified in both. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of differences in the certifications. It's just that's a requirement for that facility. If that makes sense. So yes, and we're looking into, I wouldn't say we want to go away from Ellis. Ellis has been great. We've had no issues with Ellis. It's been good. But to your point, is it better for us to go to American Red Cross to where we can get guards that might want to work both locations for more hours? Maybe not. What are the pros and cons? What are the costs associated with those? So that's actually been some of Willow's homework the last month and a half to do, is to look at those things. And there's not a whole lot of differences, but to share guards right now would be difficult just because of those certifications. So that's a great question. Yeah, I've thought of that too, to try to up our guard numbers. Is like, how can we share guards? Can we not? And other municipalities and other pools are kind of like, gosh, I don't know if I want to share guards because now I might be short. They're working for you. They can't come and work for me. So there's some hesitation there, but I think as a whole, there may be a window that's open there, but yeah. That's a great, good question. You guys are nailing the questions tonight.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thanks for the update. And
You're welcome.
as always, you guys do such a good job. And I think the test is a good thing because I mentioned I have my older daughter was a lifeguard when we lived over near Twin Falls and Burley, and she loved the little local pool being a lifeguard. She loved that job, and in fact, they got the lifeguards from the pool because the Spudman Triathlon there in Burley. They lifeguards from the pool. Of course, it's at like, 7 o'clock in the morning, the swim down the Snake River. And my daughter was a lifeguard there and she rescued a guy that for some reason, he apparently put on a new wetsuit a brand new one, and it was too tight. And he got about halfway through the swim and he just couldn't get his breath and he started floundering. And my, at the time, 17-year-old daughter swam out there and rescued him. And so it's like pretty amazing, that she learned that skill by working at the pool. And, it's pretty awesome. So it's a good job for kids.
Doing this summer.
Hmm?
She doing this?
She's a graphic designer in New York City right now. She's a little old. But no, I mean, it's a great job, fun job, and they learn a skill that
Yeah.
might help
They'll
somebody.
have forever, really. If you,
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, for what it's worth, everybody. I'll get the word out.
awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks. All righty. And next on the agenda is the University of Idaho Landscape Architecture Student Project Update.
You, Mr.
Commissioner
President and
Roberts.
Commissioner. So I don't know if everyone knows this, but I graduated from the University of Idaho in landscape architecture. That's what my degrees are in. Go Vandals. And so I have maintained connections with the College of Art and Architecture and the landscape architecture program for years. And I help out with teaching now and then. And so this semester, we have a studio group of 10 students in landscape architecture, and we've got them working on several projects here in the Treasure Valley. And it's very exciting, and including some work here in Meridian. So I wanted to just present that. And I don't know, Rachel, do I have control or okay, thank you. So some of the learning objectives that we have are to give these students some practical experience. A lot of times in school, they're working on theoretical assignments, and that's great in terms of inspiring creativity. But when you get out in the real world and you really have to build things for a budget or think about safety and, being adjacent to neighborhoods and things like that, you really, need that practical experience background to help you. So that's a big part of why we're doing real projects in the Valley. And then also giving them the opportunity to interact with clients and project proponents, people, property owners, and others that they might not normally have an opportunity to interact with while they're in school. One of the things that's a baseline for all of the sites is really understanding the history and the culture and the context of each location, understanding how to strengthen connections between the communities and surrounding neighborhoods and parks. We have some projects that are focused on small towns and main streets as highways. And so how to make those safer, more inviting places for people who live in those small towns. And again, just really being grounded in the reality of what can we really accomplish? How can we keep it low maintenance for people to take care of, those kinds of things. So next slide. So as I said, we have 10 students. It's really a mix of graduate and undergraduate students. And they're going to take these projects all the way from background analysis, which is where they are right now, through design development for the locations that are listed here. And the design development will wrap up towards the end of April, early May. So it's a real quick time frame to do this work, but they're working on it all the time. They have 3 classes a week and it's a 6-credit class. So it's a lot of their time is dedicated to this. So here in Meridian, we've been working with Steve and staff to really find some good assignments for the students. And so we landed on the West Meridian Regional Park, which is off of Cherry Lane and near McDermott. It's where the rodeo has its activities, but that's going to be ending at some point and it will become a park. And then the Margaret Aldape Park is a beautiful property that's down on the Boise River, about 70 acres, I believe, right? That has just wonderful opportunities related to kind of more natural experiences. And then we've got students working on Eagle Island State Park, Thousand Springs, which is over near Hagerman. And then in these towns of Notice and Parma, Wilder and Greenleaf and Melba and the nearby Snake River sites. Next site. So this is just kind of a map of where we are, what we're doing. And this week we've been visiting all of these locations. So I'm a little bit tired keeping up with the 20-something-year-olds, but it's been fun. And yesterday we were out in the field here in Meridian with Steve and Roger, and it was delightful to really see these places in person. So for the next slide, for the West Meridian Regional Park, some of the opportunities that the city has identified and the students will be exploring, and these are just some, by the way, not all, but include active uses such as flexible rectangular play fields and athletic facilities, including pickleball courts. So that can be good. And also, we think it's a great place because it's kind of out on the edge of Meridian, where you can still see some farms to really celebrate Meridian's farming heritage. That's what the site has been used for in the past. And so maybe some interpretation and information about that. Play areas for different age groups, a dog park. Will be a lake with a fishing dock and an accessible play area. And then there are just some beautiful views. If you go to the next slide, Rachel, of the mountains. It's just out there where it's pretty open and flat, and you can really see some gorgeous vistas. And so talking with the student who is working on this, she's thinking maybe a loop trail with some viewpoints and helping people understand what they're looking at, which mountains, that we don't always know that, right? So I thought that was a great idea. And then for Margaret Aldape, again, it's an area that's near the river, and there's a lot of, floodway and floodplain issues to kind of consider. But beautiful trees and habitat areas and an opportunity to really conserve that. Also, the family is a Basque family. And so we all know that there is extensive Basque heritage in the valley. And, but yet there are a lot of people that don't know very much about the Basque culture and traditions. So it's an opportunity to not only tell some of the stories of the family and their time on the property, but also Basque culture in general and how the Basque people settled in the valley. We heard a great story yesterday from Sherry Ewing, who is the daughter of Margaret Aldape, and she and her sister and her husband and her daughter were out there with us. But they told us a story about the first tractor, the first motorized tractor that they brought to the farm, and they still have that. So they want to make that a piece. I don't know if it's going to be an art piece or what it's going to be, but make that something that they would display at the site. Yeah, pretty exciting.
I'm gonna tell Roger that's his piece of equipment to mow the park with.
And so they also have, there's a big pond there today they call it the Margaret Pond. And there's a potential for another pond. So fishing access with those ponds, nature trails, wildlife habitat, interpretation about nature. And also there's a lot to be told with water and hydrology. So maybe some educational aspects to that. And also beautiful views, if you go to the next slide, from that property as well, of mountains and water. And even you get down, there's a point where you can actually get to the Boise River front and view that. It's just beautiful, just astoundingly beautiful. And, to know that we have a park on the Boise River in Meridian, that's pretty great, right? So yes, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the city for supporting University of Idaho by lending us their time to look at these project sites yesterday. And, the university's been going through a pretty rough time for the past few months. So for me, it's been really gratifying to work on this with the students and give them kind of something meaningful to focus on and think about, in the future. So thanks, Meridian, for helping us with that. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Where is the Aldape Park exactly?
Okay, yeah, go ahead,
mean,
Steve.
Is it down by Eagle Island?
Kind of. It's so the two crossings of the Boise River are, Linder going to Eagle
Mhm.
Island, and then Highway 16 over near McDermott. It's halfway in between. So it's a mile and a half from one and a mile and a half to the other. So it sits just halfway between 10 Mile and Black Cat due north.
Right. Any other questions? Great that they want to donate their tractor. That's cool.
I know. Well,
Yeah. Awesome opportunity.
Cool. Thank you. All right, well, there is no old business for the commission and no workshop scheduled for this evening, so we'll go on to staff reports.
All right, I'll give a few, Mr. Chairman and commissioners. The big news of the night is the master plan that you all saw last month was adopted by resolution last night at City Council. So we are working with Barry Dunn, Art Thatcher, who you know well now, but to get the final cover pages on and delivered, and we'll get that all to you in an electronic version. Hopefully later this month, but soon. Once we get the acknowledgements page and things like that, now that it's formally adopted, but we did get it adopted by resolution last night. So that is really big news because it's been a year and a half of pretty constant work to get to last night. So really happy about that. Another big focus has been lots of work with taking on the new golf course. And we've had the golf course in some aspects for over a year, but the employees were never city employees until the beginning of this fiscal year. And so we've been working on lots of transition related to staffing out there, as well as updating the fees. There's a new fee schedule for the golf course that's going to City Council next week. And in general, what it does is actually lowers some of what they call the trail fees for bringing out your own golf cart, and then increases some of the other fees to balance it out and make it kind of a wash. Some council members were specifically interested in that. And so we're been working on that, and it's had a public hearing 2 weeks ago. We had noticed a couple of the fees incorrectly, so we continued it, re-noticed the fees, and it's going back to council next week. If Mike were here, he'd tell you we're continuing to work on Discovery Park, both the bike park and the skate park. The skate park design, it's going to be awesome, guys. I mean, it just is. It's going to be an amazing skate park. And they're finalizing construction docs on that so that they can begin construction later this spring. And then the bike park, yeah, that was the last update that you guys had. So that design hasn't changed much. I asked them to take a closer look specifically at the pump track. Remember, we asked for 2 sections of the pump track, one for the little kids, one for the teenagers. They did that, but they're really close together, and I could see the big kids kind of using it as a bigger figure 8 and creating conflict. So I asked him to see if you can keep them in the same area. They belong together, but separate them just a little bit more so it doesn't look like it's one big pump track. So they were working on some details like that, but definitely making progress, and that's moving forward. The Lions Club Rodeo came up. We're going to have a new agreement on an upcoming council agenda. Nothing too exciting. Basically the rodeo board is kind of separating from the current Lions Club board and creating a new Treasure Valley Lions Club. And so we had to amend their existing agreement. No changes to the logistics of the agreement. But if you see that on an upcoming council agenda, I wonder what that's about. It's just kind of a simple addendum to assign what's currently assigned to the Meridian Lions Club to the Treasure Valley Lions Club. And let's see. Oh, so many projects going on out there, but a couple that I'm kind of excited to go out and see in Kleiner Park. The areas where the disc golf tees off, the disc golf course there is really become popular over the last few years. And the grass was just mud. I mean, it was just worn down to nothing, and where people tee off from by the tee markers. And we were able to go in and create some tee boxes with rec grass to make that more of a surface that's not going to turn to mud and stay good. So I actually haven't even seen those with my own eyes yet, but I was told last week that they're complete, and I can't wait to go see them. Also out there, we've been partnering with the senior center. Senior center applied for a grant to get some new patio furniture. Technically, since it's outside the building walls, that area is part of the park, part of the city's land. So we worked with them. They said, you secure it, we'll help you install it. So I haven't seen that furniture yet with my own eyes, but I'm told it's in and installed and looking great. So looking forward to go and see those two new, not really full on new amenities at the park, but just upgrading, what's there. And I love our crew. They're always looking for how do we make what we do better. So that's my update. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from the commission? All right. No? Okay. I do have kind of an item, I guess, of commission. So looking forward, not to get too ahead of us, April usually is our bike tour. Is that right? Is that what we're thinking? Just so everybody puts it on their,
We've looked at, I think last year we did May.
We did move it, I
because
think.
April was always we were always fighting the weather.
Yeah.
And kind of working in between rainstorms. So I have May in my mind,
Okay.
but
Yeah, that's what I'm just,
we will
throwing it
work
out
with
there for
you
everybody.
to determine what month
I
it's
think May's
coming,
good, but
but it's coming later this spring. Yes.
okay. My only,
If you have any ideas of what you want to go see, we love hearing.
there's
some of
that.
those.
I only know I'm out of town for a week in second week of May, which somewhere around our normal times. But we'll figure it out.
We'll work with you and figure that out.
We'll figure it out. Okay, just so I wanted everybody,
Yeah,
keep it in mind. that
absolutely.
That's coming up in a couple.
Coming up this spring, it's always been in April or May. We did April for several years, and we actually got really fortunate. It rained before and it rained after, and we hit some,
Yeah.
but it was always really sketchy. And so last year we moved to May and had just gorgeous weather. So
Okay, thank you. Are there any other items from the commission business questions anybody wants to bring up, talk about? No, any other items?
Garrett may have an update in
Oh,
addition to his.
I'm
pool.
sorry. Yes. Garrett, do you have any?
I'll be very quick.
No, go ahead.
Our events, Renee's awesome. Obviously, right now she's gathering sponsors and signing contracts and stuff like that for some of the things that are happening here this spring, summer. She does have a sponsor already for the Kleiner Park Live. I'll let her announce that. I won't let it out of the bag yet, but she does have that, which is great. And she's just obviously doing all the planning. Jenna with classes and camps. Shelley mentioned the senior trip they went on. That was pretty fun and full. She's also just working on summer camp planning. She would like to have 3 sites, but the staff has to be there to run 3 sites, right? So she's hoping to get as much staff as possible. And then she's getting activity guide content for the next activity guide ready to go. You heard from Maggie and Skylar regarding sports. Arts and culture is working on Discovery Park art stuff, Initial Point Gallery openings, budgets for FY24, the pool mural, Conscious on Broadway contracts, just a bunch of stuff going on there too. Home court, good problem that we have over there is the building's used heavily. So we're trying to figure out what the best schedule is over there for public use in the evenings with that. But home court's doing that. Jake's doing a lot of stuff with golf operations and then working on budgets as well. Willow's doing the hiring, budgets, inventory, certifications, and then scheduling the summer with swim teams, swim team contracts, swim to meet contracts, and with the high school teams, just kind of getting them all lined out and scored away at the same time. Even though they might not use it until September, October, or August, but they're planning stuff now and getting it booked, so they're getting ready to go. Myself, been working a lot with the community center architectural RFQ that went out. We selected ZGA architects to work with. So we're working with them right now to come up with a scope of work as well as a fee proposal with them and kind of everything we want to get done there. The Main Street Market, that contract just got approved last night as well at council on the consent agenda. So that will start April 15th and run every Saturday through October 14th right here in front of City Hall. So I've been filling all they'll close Broadway like they did everything, the same footprint as yours in the years past. But that's coming up. So I've submitted all those applications and temporary use permits and things like that for them. I've been working a lot with the pool contracts. I think the pool's not being used right now. There'd be nothing going on, but been working with the TK elevator contract, Crane alarm contract, Personnel Plus contracts, and Johnson Controlled contracts. Just getting them all ready to go for the next season because that's something you have to have: fire monitoring, fire sprinklers, even at a pool. That, and then been doing a lot of stuff with the FY24 budgets. So yeah, that is my quick update in a nutshell. Dan for questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And just from everything you said tonight, we need to make sure we keep Willow happy.
Please. Yeah.
Sounds to me like.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
does great.
That's awesome. Any questions, Commission? Garrett? Thank you for all you do. Anything else? Okay, now, is there any other business anybody has before we? Okay. Well, then can I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. President,
Yes, Commissioner Gelsomino.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I would like to second that motion.
Commissioner Roberts, thank you. We have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.